So I did my um, presentation on the point-based reward system and gamification impact on children's physical activity, strategies, and psychological needs. So the method is to address the need to deter obesity and promote PA among children. There has been a proliferation of interventions that seek to leverage the engaging nature of game elements in a non-gaming context to promote PA, popularly known as gamification. My theory is a majority of youth fail to get the recommended amount of PA, with older children experience a precipitous decline in physical activity compared to younger children, a consequence of longer time spent in classrooms and engaged in sedentary activities. Um, yeah, my argument: low levels of PA um, is often identified as a major contributor to childhood obesity because interventions are far less successful once obesity is established in childhood. Older children provide a critical window for PA interventions that motivate and sustain healthy PA habits. So, in my article that I read, there were two main things for this experiment, and that is gamification and the point-based reward system. So, gamification is the selective application of game mechanics to a non-game activity that is a fully packaged game. Um, so, games have always been a part of our lives, and they're really just there for our entertainment. But they can also be involved in like training, like you see in um, elementary school and like high schools, middle school, like in PE, you have that physical activity class, and like sometimes you have games that are fun, like people enjoy doing them. So it's just easier to do when it's fun for you. Um, and then the effects of point-based reward system on physical activity. So individuals naturally gravitate towards acts that are pleasurable. Um, so with that, in this experiment, it serves as a simple but effective mechanism to control behavior. And the underlying assumption is that if activities can fulfill basic psychological needs, individuals will become more engaged in the activity because they genuinely enjoy it. So in this activity or this experiment, there were um, two groups, and it was one gets points for a reward and the other doesn't get points for rewards, and they were just kind of comparing those as part of the experiment too. And I'll talk about that later on in the presentation. So the participants and designs, um, so there were 67 children total, and like I said, the design was points versus no points awarded. And this study did a 2x2, so in experiment conditions, points versus no points, and the sex, boys versus girls. Um, and then the physical activity outcomes are often moderated by biological sex. So with that, like boys are more physically active than girls. So in this experiment, that's what they base this off of. So they separated those two. So it's just going off of boys that um, whatever, but it's saying that. So yeah. So the physical activity intervention. So I'm pretty much going to talk about the experiment now. Um, whoops. Let's go back. Yep. So in this experiment, we said that there was 67 children, and they're all split up into these different groups: boys, girls, no points, first points, and so every single kid has a virtual agent through a digital platform, and this is part of my media that I looked into with this article. And with this digital platform, there is a virtual dog that is like your mentor pretty much. And with that like virtual digital platform, there's no game elements, so you don't get like medals. Like if you're playing a game, you don't get any rewards. There's no levels through the gaming process like on the virtual dog. And then every kid has an activity monitor, so like a Fitbit, pretty much. It's what they described it as. And they have to set a PA goal with their dog. So they go see their dog, they set a PA goal, and then they go off and have unstructured activity. And then when they think that they've met their PA goal, they come back and the dog like scans their Fitbit and it comes back as who they are, and then that information is copied into the system, and then they set another goal and they just keep going. And if you meet your PA goal in the points category, so like if you were in the group that gets points, you get points, and once you get enough, you can buy tricks for your dog to do. So that's like the reward for them. Like you get enough points to have your dog do cool tricks, etc. And if you're in the no points category, then your reward is if you get a PA goal, you get to have a conversation with your dog, like interact with it on your own time, and that's pretty much the goal. The reward for the no points versus the points. So in conclusion, I'm going to go over the gamification and point reward system impact with this. So they described this in the end as kind of like a beat the system in gamified context rather than focusing on their PA. So they were more focused on like the dog overall instead of like willingly wanting to do the physical activity themselves. And then in the points condition, there was no indicated greater intentions to engage in PA in the future versus children in the no points condition. And then another thing that it talks about is how the gamification agent, like dog, seemed to have a really big impact on some of the children though, because they think that it was more like they was able to incorporate feelings into the children rather than like humans or their adult figures. So, and it was able to kind of like push them a little bit more in the end. But overall, there was no significant changes in PA.